The morning bells rang across the metal halls of the Galactic Military Academy. Jake Morrison rolled out of his narrow bunk and stretched his arms above his head. His roommate, a blue-skinned alien named Crix, was already gone. That was normal. Most aliens needed less sleep than humans. Jake pulled on his gray uniform and checked his reflection in the small mirror. Dark hair, brown eyes, and a face that always seemed to be frowning. His instructors said he looked angry too much. They were probably right. The academy sat on top of a mountain on Zephyria Prime. Through his window, Jake could see the purple sky and two suns rising over the horizon. He had been here for 6 months now, and he still thought the view was beautiful. Too bad everything else about this place was terrible. He walked down the corridor toward the dining hall. Other cadets moved past him in groups. The tall, gray-skinned Altarians walked with perfect posture. The insect-like Zephyrians clicked and buzzed as they talked. The furry Canary moved in packs, their tails swishing behind them. And then there were the humans. All 12 of them in the entire academy. Jake nodded to Lisa Carter as she fell into step beside him. She was shorter than him, with blonde hair pulled back in a tight bun and green eyes that missed nothing. "You look like you slept well, Lisa," said with a small smile. "Like a baby," Jake replied. "A baby having nightmares about being executed." Lisa elbowed him in the ribs. "Don't joke about that stuff. You know how seriously they take discipline here." Jake did know. In the 6 months since arriving, he had watched 3 cadets get executed. 1 for stealing food, 1 for talking back to an instructor, 1 for failing a test 3 times. The executions were always public, always fast, always final. They entered the dining hall and got their food. Gray protein paste, vitamin water, and something that might have been vegetables. Jake sat at one of the human tables. Lisa sat across from him, along with 2 other human cadets named Ben Parker and Amy Davis. "Did you guys hear about the training exercise today?" Amy asked. She was young, maybe 19, with red hair and freckles. She looked like she should be in college, not learning how to kill people. "What about it?" Ben asked. He was older, maybe 25, with dark skin and serious eyes. He had been in the human military before coming here. "They're bringing in live targets," Amy said quietly. "Prisoners from the border wars." Jake's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. "Live targets? That's what I heard," Amy said. "Commander Vextar announced it this morning. We're supposed to practice interrogation techniques on real prisoners." Lisa shook her head. "That's not training, that's torture." "Keep your voice down," Ben warned. "You know what happens to people who complain here." Jake looked around the dining hall. The alien cadets were eating and talking like this was normal. Maybe for them it was. But Jake had grown up learning that prisoners had rights. That there were rules about how you treated people, even enemies. "We can't just go along with this," Jake said. "We don't have a choice," Ben replied. "This isn't Earth. These aren't human rules." "Some rules should be universal," Jake said. His voice was getting louder, and other cadets were starting to look their way. Lisa reached across the table and grabbed his hand. "Jake, please, not here." But Jake was already angry. He had been angry for months, watching the way this place worked, the way the strong crushed the weak, the way asking questions got you killed, the way everyone just accepted it because that's how things had always been. "I'm not going to torture prisoners," Jake said. "I don't care what they do to me. They'll execute you," Amy whispered. "You know they will." "Then maybe someone needs to be executed," Jake said. "Maybe that's what it takes to wake people up." Ben leaned forward. "You think dying is going to change anything? You think they'll suddenly start treating prisoners better because they killed another human?" "I think someone has to take a stand," Jake replied. "And if not us, then who?" The conversation was interrupted by the sound of boots on metal floor. Commander Vextar entered the dining hall, followed by 2 guards. The commander was tall, even for a Zephyrian, with 4 arms and compound eyes that seemed to look everywhere at once. His exoskeleton was black with silver markings that showed his rank. Every cadet in the hall stood up and saluted. The commander's eyes swept the room, pausing for a moment on the human table. Jake felt like those alien eyes could see right through him. "Cadets," the commander said in his clicking voice, "today you will learn the importance of information gathering. War is not just about killing the enemy, it is about learning their secrets, breaking their will, making them tell you what you need to know." The commander's 4 hands moved as he spoke, gesturing to emphasize his words. "Some of you may find today's lesson difficult. Your species may have different ideas about how to treat prisoners. But you are not here to follow the rules of your homeworlds. You are here to learn the rules of war." Jake's jaw tightened. He could feel Lisa's eyes on him, warning him to stay quiet. But the words were building up inside him like pressure in a peep. "The prisoners you will question today are enemies of the Galactic Union," the commander continued. "They have killed soldiers, destroyed ships, murdered civilians. They deserve no mercy. They deserve no kindness. They deserve only whatever pain is necessary to make them speak." Jake couldn't stay quiet anymore. He stepped forward. "Commander, what about the Galactic Convention on Prisoner Rights?" The dining hall went completely silent. Even the insects stopped buzzing. Every eye in the room turned to look at Jake, and he could feel the weight of their stares. Commander Vextar's head tilted to one side. "Cadet Morrison, is it?" "Yes, sir." "You question my methods?" Jake's heart was pounding, but he kept his voice steady. "I question whether torture is an effective way to gather information, sir. Studies show that people will say anything to stop pain, whether it's true or not." "Studies," the commander repeated. "Human studies, I assume." "Yes, sir. But the principles should apply to all species." The commander stepped closer. Jake could smell something sharp and chemical coming from the alien's body. "Tell me, Cadet Morrison, how many wars has your species won?" Jake blinked. "Sir? How many interstellar conflicts have humans participated in? How many alien enemies have you defeated?" Jake felt heat rising in his cheeks. "We've only been in space for a few decades, sir. But we've learned from our mistakes on Earth." "Mistakes?" the commander said with something that might have been laughter. "You think centuries of successful interrogation techniques are mistakes?" "I think there are better ways to get information," Jake said. The commander's 4 hands moved to his weapons belt. The guards behind him shifted closer. Jake could feel the tension in the room like electricity before a storm. "You will participate in today's exercise, Cadet Morrison," the commander said. "You will question the prisoners using the techniques I teach you. You will learn why the Galactic Union has dominated this sector for 1,000 years. And if I refuse?" Jake asked. The commander's compound eyes seemed to glitter. "Then you will discover what happens to cadets who put their personal beliefs above military discipline." Jake looked around the room. Amy was staring at her food. Ben was shaking his head slowly. Lisa was watching him with fear in her eyes. But none of them were telling him to back down. None of them were saying he was wrong. "I understand, sir," Jake said finally, but as the commander turned away, Jake caught Lisa's eye. She gave him the smallest nod, and he knew she understood. They both knew this couldn't continue. They both knew someone had to do something. The question was what, and how much they were willing to sacrifice to do it. 3 hours after the confrontation in the dining hall, Jake found himself standing in Training Room 7. The room was cold and gray, with metal walls and bright lights that hurt his eyes. In the center of the room were 3 chairs with thick metal restraints. In those chairs sat 3 prisoners. They were Calvani, a species Jake had never seen before. They looked almost human, but their skin was pale blue and their eyes were completely black. All 3 were injured. One had a broken arm, another had burns on her face. The third was bleeding from a cut on his forehead. Commander Vextar stood beside the chairs, along with 2 other instructors. About 20 cadets filled the room, including all the humans. Jake could see Lisa standing near the back, her face carefully blank. "Today you will learn proper interrogation techniques," the commander announced. "These prisoners were captured during the raid on Supply Station Beta. They know the location of their fleet's hidden base. Your job is to make them tell you." Jake raised his hand. "Sir, what if they don't know anything?" The commander's compound eyes focused on him. Then you will keep asking until you are certain they are telling the truth. How can we be certain? Jake asked. When they could no longer lie, the commander replied. Jake felt sick. He looked at the prisoners again. They were young, maybe teenagers. The one with the broken arm was crying quietly. The girl with the burns was staring at nothing, her eyes empty with shock. Cadet Morrison, the commander said. You will question the first prisoner. Jake stepped forward. The prisoner with the broken arm looked up at him. Despite the pain, there was defiance in his black eyes. Jake kneeled down so they were at eye level. What's your name? Jake asked gently. The prisoner said nothing. I'm Jake, he continued. From a planet called Earth. Where are you from? Still nothing. Commander Vextar clicked his mandibles impatiently. Cadet Morrison, you are not here to make friends. Use the pain inducers. Jake looked at the device the commander was pointing. T.O. It looked like a small metal rod with wires attached. He had seen these used before. They sent electric shocks through the victim's body. I don't think that's necessary, sir, Jake said. Give me more time to build trust. Trust? The commander laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You think war is about trust? You think enemies become friends because you are polite? I think frightened people tell you what you want to hear. Not what's true, Jake replied. The other cadets were watching now. Jake could see some of them nodding slightly. Others looked confused. The alien cadets seemed bored, like this was normal for them. You will use the pain inducer, Cadet Morrison, the commander said. That is an order. Jake picked up the device. It was heavier than he expected. He looked at the prisoner again. The young alien was watching him with those black eyes, waiting to see what kind of person Jake really was. I'm sorry, Jake whispered. Then he threw the device across the room. The metal rod clattered against the wall and fell to the floor. The room went completely silent. Even the crying prisoner stopped. Making noise. Commander Vextar's 4 hands moved to his weapons. Cadet Morrison, you will retrieve that device and complete your assignment. No, sir, Jake said. I won't torture children. These are not children. They are enemy combatants. They're kids, Jake said louder. Look at them. They're scared and hurt and probably don't know anything important anyway. You are refusing a direct order? Jake stood up and faced the commander. Yes, sir, I am. The commander's compound eyes seemed to glow. Do you understand what happens to cadets who refuse orders? I understand, Jake said. But I also understand what happens to people who torture prisoners. They become monsters. Lisa stepped forward from the back of the room. Jake, please, think about what you're doing. Jake looked at her. Her green eyes were full of fear, but also something else. Pride, maybe, or love. He had known Lisa since they were both selected for the academy. She was the smartest person he had ever met, and the bravest. If she was afraid for him, he should probably be afraid too, but he wasn't afraid, he was angry. I am thinking, he said. I'm thinking about what my parents taught me, about what it means to be human, about the difference between right and wrong. Commander Vextar made a gesture with one of his hands. The 2 guards stepped forward and grabbed Jake's arms. He didn't resist. You will be taken to a holding cell, the commander said. You will. Think about your decision. Tomorrow you will return and complete your assignment, or you will face disciplinary action. What kind of disciplinary action? Jake asked. The commander's mandibles clicked. The kind that ensures you never refuse another order? As the guards dragged him toward the door, Jake looked back at the prisoners. The one with the broken arm was staring at him with something like hope in his black eyes. The girl with the burns had stopped staring at nothing and was looking at Jake too. His name is Zeth, she said suddenly. Her voice was soft and musical. The boy you were questioning. His name is Zeth, and he's 17 years old. He's never been in a battle. He was just delivering medical supplies when you captured him. Commander Vextar spun around. Silence, but the girl continued. My name is Yura. I'm 19. I'm a nurse. The other boy is Cole. He's 16. We don't know where any fleet is. We don't know any military secrets. We're just trying to help people. I said silence. The commander raised one of his hands as if to strike her. Jake broke free from the guards and stepped between them. Don't touch her. The commander's hand stopped inches from Jake's face. You protect the enemy? I protect children, Jake said. Even enemy children? Then you are a traitor. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Jake felt the blood drain from his face. Treason was punishable by execution. Not just confinement or punishment duty, death. I'm not a traitor, Jake said quietly. I'm human. There is no difference, the commander replied. Guards, take him to the detention level. Place him in isolation cell 3. He will await trial for treason and insubordination. As the guards grabbed him again, Jake looked at Lisa. She was crying now, tears running down her cheeks. But she nodded at him just once. A tiny movement that only he could see. He nodded back. They had talked about this possibility. They had made plans. If something happened to one of them, the other would know what to do. The guards dragged him out of the room. As the door closed behind him, Jake could hear Commander Vextar continuing the lesson. Let this be an example to all of you. Personal. Feelings have no place in military operations. Mercy is weakness. Compassion is failure. The isolation cell was small and dark. Jake sat on the narrow bench and put his head in his hands. He had known this might happen. He had known that standing up to the commander would probably get him killed. But he had hoped, somehow, that things would be different. Now he was going to die. They would put him in front of a tribunal, listen to the charges, and sentence him to execution. It would probably happen tomorrow. Maybe the day after, if he was lucky, but at least he would die knowing he had done the right thing. At least he would die human. Outside his cell, he could hear footsteps in the corridor, guards walking their rounds, other prisoners calling out in the darkness. The sound of alien voices speaking in languages he didn't understand, and somewhere in the academy, Lisa was putting their plan into motion. Jake just hoped she would be careful. He hoped she would be smart. He hoped she would survive long enough to make sure his death meant something, because if he was going to die, he wanted it to matter. He wanted the galaxy to know that humans were different, that they stood for something more than just survival, even if it killed them. Jake had been in the isolation cell for 18 hours when they came for him. He heard their footsteps long before they reached his door, heavy boots on metal floors, the sound of weapons rattling against armor, the low voices of guards who had done this many times before. The door opened with a loud clang. 3 guards stood in the doorway, their weapons ready. Behind them was Commander Vextar, his forearms folded across his chest. His compound eyes glittered in the dim light. Time for your trial, Cadet Morrison, the commander said. Jake stood up slowly. His body was stiff from sleeping on the hard bench. His uniform was wrinkled and dirty, but he kept his back straight and his head high. I'm ready, he said. The guards put metal restraints around his wrists and ankles. The chains were heavy and cold. They made a loud, clanking sound as Jake walked. The sound echoed through the corridors as they moved toward the central courtyard the academy was built around. A large open space in the center. It was surrounded by tall walls and had a metal floor. This was where they held formations and ceremonies. It was also where they held executions. Jake had watched 3 executions in this courtyard. Each time he had hoped it would be the last. Each time he had been wrong. Today he would be the one in the center of the courtyard. Today the other cadets would watch him die. The guards led him through a side entrance. The courtyard was already full of people. Every cadet in the academy was there, arranged in neat rows according to their species. The humans were in the back. Just like always. Jake could see Lisa standing with the other humans. Her face was pale, but her eyes were focused on him. In the center of the courtyard sat the execution chair. It was made of black metal and covered with wires and sensors. Next to it was the neural disintegrator, a machine that looked like a large gun with a metal dish on the front. Jake had seen this machine work before. It sent a focused beam of energy into the victim's brain. The beam burned out all the neural pathways, causing incredible pain before death. The whole process took exactly 23 seconds. Commander Vexstar walked to the center of the courtyard. His voice carried easily in the still air. "Cadets of the Galactic Military Academy," he announced. "Today you will witness the consequences of insubordination and treason. Cadet Jake Morrison of Earth has refused direct orders and shown sympathy for the enemy. Under the laws of this academy and the Galactic Union, he has been sentenced to death." The alien cadets stood at attention. They had seen this before. For them, it was just another lesson in discipline and obedience. But the humans were different. Jake could see the pain in their faces. Amy was crying. Ben was staring at the ground. Lisa was watching everything with cold, calculating eyes. "Let this be a reminder," the commander continued. "Personal feelings have no place in military service. Mercy is weakness. Compassion is failure. Those who cannot accept these truths do not deserve to wear the uniform." The guards pushed Jake toward the execution chair. He didn't resist. There was no point. The restraints were too strong, the guards too many, the weapons too deadly. If he was going to die, he would die with dignity. They strapped him into the chair. The metal was cold against his skin. Wires were attached to his head and chest. Sensors were placed on his temples. The neural disintegrator was positioned directly in front of his face. Commander Vexstar operated the controls himself. It was a privilege he reserved for special occasions. The machine hummed to life, its energy building up for the killing shot. "Any last words, Cadet Morrison?" the commander asked. Jake looked out at the crowd of cadets. His eyes found Lisa again. She was standing perfectly still, but her hands were moving slightly. She was using the hand signals they had developed during their months together. The signals no one else knew about. She was telling him that the plan was in motion, that his sacrifice would not be in vain, that she would make sure the galaxy knew what happened here. "Yes," Jake said. His voice was clear and strong. "I have something to say." The commander gestured for him to continue. Jake looked directly at the alien cadets. "You think this makes you strong? You think killing people who disagree with you proves your power, but you're wrong. This makes you weak. This makes you monsters." Some of the alien cadets shifted uncomfortably. Others looked angry. A few seemed confused. "Humans don't believe in blind obedience," Jake continued. "We believe in doing what's right, even when it's hard, even when it costs us everything. That's what makes us human." Commander Vexstar's mandibles clicked with annoyance. "Enough speeches, it is time." The neural disintegrator charged up with a high-pitched whine. Jake could feel the energy building in front of his face. His heart was beating fast, but he wasn't afraid. He thought about his parents back on Earth. He thought about the 3 young prisoners in the training room. He thought about Lisa and the plan they had made together. "For the crime of treason and insubordination," Commander Vexstar announced, "I sentence you to death by neural disintegration. May your example serve as a warning to others." The machine fired. Pain exploded through Jake's head like nothing he had ever experienced. It felt like his brain was being torn apart from the inside. Every nerve in his body screamed. His vision went white, then red, then black. But even through the agony, Jake managed to do one last thing. He looked at Lisa and smiled. A small smile. That said he was proud of what they had done together. A smile that said he trusted her to finish what they had started. The pain lasted exactly 23 seconds. Jake's body convulsed in the chair. Smoke rose from his hair. His eyes rolled back in his head. The biometric sensors registered his vital signs falling to 0. And then it was over. Jake Morrison was dead. The cadets stood in silence. Some looked shocked, others looked satisfied. The humans looked like they were trying not to cry. Commander Vexstar checked the readings on the neural disintegrator. "Death confirmed," he announced. "Remove the body and dispose of it according to regulation." 2 guards unstrapped Jake's body from the chair. His head fell forward and his arms hung limp at his sides. They carried him toward the door that led to the disposal facility. Lisa watched them go. Her face was completely blank now. She looked like she was carved from stone. But inside, she was burning with rage and determination. The other cadets began to file out of the courtyard. The execution was over. The lesson was complete. They would go back to their classes and their training and their normal lives. But Lisa had work to do. She waited until most of the cadets had left. Then she slipped away from the group of humans and headed toward the disposal facility. She knew the layout of the academy better than anyone. She knew where they would take Jake's body. She knew how much time she had. 20-3 seconds. That's how long it had taken them to kill her best friend. That's how long it had taken them to murder the best person she had ever known. She was going to make sure they remembered those. 23 seconds for the rest of their lives. The disposal facility was in the basement of the academy. It was where they took the bodies of executed cadets before sending them to the incinerators. It was supposed to be secure, but Lisa had been planning this for months. She had studied the guard rotations. She had memorized the access codes. She had prepared for this moment since the day she and Jake first arrived at the academy. Now it was time to put their plan into action. Jake was dead, but his death was going to mean something. Lisa would make sure of that, even if it killed her too. Lisa moved through the academy corridors like a ghost. Her soft shoes made no sound on the metal floors. Her breathing was calm and steady. She had practiced this route dozens of times in her mind, but never thought she would actually have to use it. The disposal facility was 3 levels down from the main academy. Lisa took the service elevator, using the maintenance codes she had memorized months ago. Jake had been the one to discover the codes, hidden in the academy's computer system. He had always been better with technology than she was. The elevator doors opened with a soft hiss. Lisa stepped into a narrow corridor lined with pipes and electrical cables. The air was warm and smelled like chemicals. Somewhere in the distance, she could hear the hum of the incinerators. She found the preparation room exactly where she expected it to be. The door was locked, but Lisa had prepared for that too. She pulled out a small device that Jake had built for her, a simple electronic lockpicker. It took her 30 seconds to open the door. The room was cold and white. There were 3 metal tables in the center, each with restraints and monitoring equipment. Jake's body lay on the middle table. His eyes were closed and his face was peaceful. He looked like he was sleeping. Lisa walked over to the table and looked down at her friend. His uniform was torn where the guards had attached the sensors. There was a small burn mark on his forehead where the neural disintegrator had focused its beam. But otherwise, he looked exactly like the Jake she had known for the past 6 months. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm sorry I couldn't save you." But even as she said it, Lisa knew that saving Jake had never been the real plan. From the beginning, they had both known that someone would have to die to expose what was really happening at the academy. Jake had volunteered to be that someone. Lisa pulled out a small scanning device and placed it against Jake's temple. The device was designed to read neural implants, the tiny computers that all academy cadets had installed in their brains. The implants were supposed to monitor health and performance, but Jake had discovered they could do much more. He had been secretly recording everything for months. Every conversation with instructors, every training session, every execution, every war crime committed in the name of military discipline. All of it was stored in his neural implant, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. The scanning device beeped softly. Lisa looked at the small screen and saw rows of data files. Video recordings, audio files, computer records, and communication logs. Everything they needed to prove what the academy was really doing, but that wasn't all Jake had discovered. The biggest secret was hidden in the deepest files of the academy's computer system. Jake had found evidence that the academy wasn't just training cadets to be soldiers. It was training them to be killers, assassins, weapons, to be used against anyone who opposed the Galactic Union. The 3 young prisoners in the training room weren't enemy combatants, they were refugees. Civilians who had been captured specifically to be used as training targets. Their families had been told they were dead. Their government had been told they were being held in a prisoner exchange program, but they were really being used as practice. Subjects for torture and murder. Lisa copied all the data onto her own storage device. Then she began the second part of their plan. She needed to get Jake's body to the Academy's communication center. She needed to broadcast the evidence to every news outlet and government in the galaxy. But first, she had something else to do. Lisa heard footsteps in the corridor. Outside. She quickly hid behind one of the metal tables and waited. The door opened and 2 guards entered. They were talking in low voices about their plans for the evening. "Another execution tomorrow," one of them said. "Some alien kid who tried to escape." "Good," the other replied. "I like the executions. Keeps the others in line." Lisa felt anger burning in her chest. These guards enjoyed watching children die. They thought it was entertainment. The guards walked over to Jake's table. One of them checked the identification tag on his wrist. "Jake Morrison, human, executed for treason," he read aloud. Time to send him to the incinerators. They began to lift Jake's body. Lisa waited until they were both distracted, then she moved. She had been trained in combat at the Academy, just like all the other cadets. But she had also been trained by her father, who had been a soldier on Earth. He had taught her things that the Academy instructors didn't know. Things about fighting dirty and using whatever weapons were available. Lisa grabbed a metal rod from the medical equipment table. The first guard didn't even see her coming. She hit him in the back of the head with all her strength. He collapsed. Without making a sound, the second guard spun around, reaching for his weapon, but Lisa was faster. She swung the rod again, catching him in the chest. He staggered backward, gasping for air. Lisa hit him again, this time in the head. He fell to the floor and didn't move. Lisa checked both guards. They were unconscious but still breathing. She didn't want to kill them unless she had to. Despite everything, she was still human. She still believed that life was precious. She dragged the guards into a supply closet and locked the door. Then she returned to Jake's body. She would have to carry him herself now. Lisa was strong, but Jake was heavier than she expected. She managed to get him onto a transport gurney and wheel him out of the room. The corridors were empty. Most of the Academy was asleep, and the few guards on duty were patrolling other areas. She took Jake's body to the communication center on the top floor of the Academy. The center was where all the Academy's messages were sent and received. It was also where the neural disintegrator was controlled from. Lisa had studied the center's layout for weeks. She knew exactly where to go and what to do. She placed Jake's body on the floor next to the main communication console, then began working on the computer system. The evidence files were huge. It would take several minutes to transmit them all. Lisa started the upload process, then turned her attention to the neural disintegrator controls. The machine that had killed Jake was still in the central courtyard, but it was controlled from here, from this room. Lisa had learned how to operate it by watching the guards and studying the technical manuals. She began to reprogram the machine. Instead of sending a focused beam of energy, she was turning it into a different kind of weapon, one that would work on the aliens who had built it. The communication system beeped. The first batch of files had been sent. News outlets across the galaxy were already receiving videos of the Academy's war crimes. Governments were getting copies of the secret records. Military commanders were seeing evidence of the illegal training programs, but Lisa wasn't finished yet. She had one more thing to do. She picked up the neural disintegrator's targeting scanner and aimed it at the Academy's main computer core. The machine could be used to destroy electronic systems as well as living beings. If she overloaded the core, it would wipe out all the Academy's records and shut down their operations for months, but it would also trigger the Academy's security systems. Every alarm in the building would go off. Every guard would come running. Lisa would have maybe 2 minutes before they found her. She looked down at Jake's body one more time. His face was still peaceful, still calm. He looked like he was proud of what they had accomplished together. "This is for you," Lisa whispered, "and for everyone they've hurt." She activated the neural DI's INTEGRATOR. The machine hummed to life, its energy building up for the killing shot. But this time, it wasn't aimed at a human being. This time, it was aimed at the heart of the academy itself. Lisa waited exactly 23 seconds. Then she pulled the trigger. The neural disintegrator beam hit the academy's main computer core with the force of a lightning strike. Sparks flew from the metal walls. The lights flickered and went out. Emergency alarms began screaming throughout the building. Lisa stood in the darkness, watching the destruction she had caused. Computer screens exploded in showers of glass. Electrical fires started burning in the walls. The smell of melting metal filled the air, but she wasn't finished yet. Lisa picked up Jake's body and slung it over her shoulders. He was heavy, but she was strong. Stronger than the aliens thought. Stronger than they had ever imagined a human could be. She kicked open the door to the communication center and stepped into the corridor. Red emergency lights were flashing. Guards were running toward her from both directions, their weapons ready. "Stop!" one of them shouted. "Put down the body and surrender." Lisa looked at them with cold eyes. These were the same guards who had watched Jake die. The same guards who had laughed about executing children. The same guards who had helped Commander Vexstar turn the academy into a house of horrors. "No," she said simply. The first guard raised his weapon. Lisa was faster. She threw Jake's body at him, knocking him backward into the wall. Before he could recover, she was on him. Her hands found his throat and squeezed. The guard tried to fight back, but Lisa had surprise on her side. More than that, she had rage. All the anger she had been holding back for months came pouring out. All the pain of watching her friend die. All the fury at the injustice of this place. The guard's neck snapped with a sound. Like breaking wood, the second guard fired his weapon. The energy beam missed Lisa by inches, burning a hole in the wall behind her. Lisa rolled to the side and grabbed the first guard's weapon. She had never killed anyone before, but she had been trained for this moment. The energy beam caught the second guard in the chest. He screamed and fell to the floor, his body smoking. Lisa picked up Jake's body again and continued down the corridor. More guards were coming. She could hear their boots on the metal floors. She could hear their voices calling for backup, but she wasn't afraid. Fear was something she had left behind in the disposal room. Now there was only purpose. Only the mission that she and Jake had planned together. She reached the main stairwell and started climbing. Her destination was Commander Vexstar's office, on the top floor. The commander would be there, trying to figure out what was happening. Trying to regain control of his academy. Lisa was going to show him what loss of control really meant. The stairwell was full of smoke from the electrical fires. Lisa's eyes were watering, but she kept climbing. Behind her, she could hear guards following. They were shouting orders at each other in their alien languages. She reached the top floor and kicked open the door. Commander Vexstar's office was at the end of the corridor. The door was made of reinforced metal, but Lisa had come prepared. For that too. She pulled out the neural disintegrator targeting scanner and aimed it at the door lock. The device that had killed Jake could also be used as a weapon. Lisa had learned how to modify it during the months of planning. The scanner fired a focused beam of energy. The door lock melted like butter. Lisa kicked the door open and stepped. Inside, Commander Vexstar was standing behind his desk, talking frantically into a communication device. His forearms were moving wildly as he tried to coordinate the Academy's response to the crisis. He looked up as Lisa entered. His compound eyes widened when he saw Jake's body slung over her shoulders. "You," he said, "the human female. What have you done?" "My name is Lisa Carter," she replied, "and I've done what humans do. I've made sure the truth comes out." The commander reached for his weapon, but Lisa was faster. She dropped Jake's body and lunged across the desk. Her hands found the commander's throat before he could draw his gun. "You killed my friend," she said. Her voice was calm and quiet. "You killed him because he wouldn't torture children, because he believed in doing what was right." The commander tried to speak, but Lisa's grip was too tight. His forearms flailed wildly, trying to break free. "Do you know what happens when you kill a human's friend?" Lisa asked. "Do you know what we're capable of when you take away everything we care about?" The commander's eyes were bulging now. His breathing was becoming labored. "We become something you can't understand," Lisa continued. We become something you should have feared from the beginning. With a sharp twist, Lisa broke Commander Vextar's neck. The alien's body went limp and fell to the floor behind the desk. Lisa picked up the commander's head and twisted until it separated from the body. It was heavier than she expected and covered in alien blood that was purple instead of red. She could hear guards rushing up the stairs. They would be here in seconds. But Lisa's work was done. She picked up Jake's body one more time and walked to the window. The academy's courtyard was far below, the same courtyard where they had executed her friend 23 seconds ago, the same place where she had watched the best person she knew die. For trying to do the right thing, the guards burst through the door just as Lisa reached the window. They stopped when they saw her standing there, covered in their commander's blood, holding his severed head in one hand and Jake's body in the other. "It's over," she told them. "The evidence has been transmitted to every government in the galaxy. Everyone knows what you've been doing here. Everyone knows about the war crimes, the torture, the murders." One of the guards raised his weapon. "Surrender now, and you will be given a fair trial." Lisa laughed. It was not a happy sound. A fair trial? Like the one you gave Jake? 23 seconds of justice? She held up the commander's head so they could all see it. "This is what 23 seconds looks like from the other side." The guards were hesitating now. They had never seen anything like this before. They had never seen a human pushed beyond the breaking point. "You thought we were weak," Lisa said. "You thought our compassion made us soft. Our mercy made us vulnerable. You were wrong." She dropped the commander's head. It hit the floor with a wet thud and rolled toward the guards. Several of them stepped backward. "We are human," Lisa continued. "We don't just fight for survival. We fight for what's right. We fight for justice. We fight for each other. And when you kill one of us for trying to protect children, we become something you should never have awakened." The communication device on the commander's desk suddenly came to life. Voices were shouting in dozens of different languages. News reports were being broadcast across the galaxy. Government officials were demanding investigations. Military commanders were ordering the academy to be shut down immediately. The guards looked confused and frightened. Their world was falling apart around them. Everything they had believed in was crumbling. Lisa walked to the door, still carrying Jake's body. The guards moved aside to let her pass. They were too shocked to stop her. She made her way back down the stairs and out of the academy. Other cadets were gathering in the courtyard, watching the building burn. The human cadets ran to her when they saw her approaching. "Lisa!" Amy cried. "What happened? Are you hurt?" Lisa looked down at herself. She was covered in purple blood and smoke stains. Her uniform was torn. Her hair was wild. But she was not hurt. "I'm fine," she said. "It's over now." 3 days later, Lisa Carter stood before the Galactic Council on the planet Zentara Prime. She was no longer wearing a cadet uniform. Instead, she wore a simple black dress and carried a folder full of evidence. The council chamber was huge, with representatives from hundreds of different species. They had been reviewing the evidence for hours. Videos of executions, records of torture sessions, proof of the Academy's illegal activities. The council leader, an ancient being with silver skin and kind eyes, spoke in a voice that echoed through the chamber. "Miss Carter, the evidence you have provided has shocked the entire galaxy. The Galactic Military Academy has been permanently shut down. Commander Vextar and his staff have been posthumously stripped of rank and dishonored. The prisoners have been released and returned to their families." Lisa nodded. "What about the other academies? Are there others like this one?" "We are investigating," the council leader replied. "Your actions have triggered the largest reform movement in galactic military history. New laws are being written to protect prisoners of war. New oversight committees are being formed to prevent future abuses." The council leader paused. "We would like to offer you a position as a special investigator. Your unique perspective on justice and human rights would be valuable to our efforts." Lisa thought about Jake, about his smile as he faced death, about his belief that someone had to take a stand. I accept, she said, but I have one condition. What is that? I want a monument built at the Academy site. Something to remember all the people who died there. Especially the ones who died trying to do the right thing, the council leader smiled. It will be done. As Lisa left the council chamber, she felt something she hadn't felt in days. Peace. Jake's death had not been in vain. His sacrifice had changed the galaxy. And sometimes that was what it took to make the universe a better place. Sometimes someone had to be willing to die for what was right. Sometimes someone else had to be willing to become a monster to make sure that death had meaning. That was what it meant to be human. That was what made them different from all the other species in the galaxy.